Okay, we're down here with Eleanor Tyson, and we're going to talk about her life growing up over in Europe during the war.
Okay, well, of course, I was only a child when war broke out, but we had to be ready, and my mother was the one who took care of so many things. And what we did was that we had a little room under the stairs that was very small, and there were no windows, but my brothers, they came and put a mattress down so I could lay down because I was only like almost 9, and my mother sat in the chair. That's all there was. But she did not like the Anderson shelters, the ones that were in the backyard, and she would not do that. So what we did was we bought an iron table, and it had to fit in our kitchen because there wasn't room for anything else. But underneath that, she put a big mattress, and we could sleep there, and if a bomb fell, it would hit that, and the wardens in the area, they knew where to look for us. So we were under the stairs for most of the time.
Wow.
And my mother was a great praying woman. She loved the Lord, and she wanted to go to church, but the church was at least 3 miles away. So she would get a bus and we would go to church on Sunday morning. But then she wanted to go to church on Sunday night. And that was a little bit tricky because where the church wasn't in the center of town, so we had to wait for the bus to come. And this one particular night, I'll never forget it. It's there in my brain. And we waited, and the bus came, and it was packed. The buses in England in those days didn't have a door. They would hang on to the pole, and they'd be hanging out the back of the bus. And of course it wouldn't stop. And it was the last bus. So my mother said, well, we have to walk home. And it was a 3-mile walk. Well, I know that we walked together, and she kept saying, oh, Jesus, take care of us. I know he's up there. I know that old Nazi is up there. She just knew the Germans were there. But we kept on walking. And the thing is, when we got to the back door of the house, my mother put her key in the lock, and as she did, the sirens went off, the bombs started falling, and we were in the house. And in typical English, she said, let's have a cup of tea. But now I remember that, and there must have been other occasions that's gone from my mind. And so let's see.
Were the bombs loud, or did they fall close by?
The what?
The bombs, did they fall close by?
Oh yeah, they were. And then my brothers, see, they were teenagers, and they had to fight fires, so they weren't home. I don't know where my father was. I have no idea, but I had my mother, and that was. And as the years went by, my brothers, they said, it was our mother who brought us through the war, because our house was never bombed, but we did lose our windows.
Did you? Wow.
A bomb fell on the street next to us, and our windows all blew out. But we never had to use the table.
When did they bomb? At night or in the day, or all the time?
They would start in England, it would be around tea time, at 5 o'clock. That's when they would start. And how we got home from church that night, it was only the Lord that brought us through.
What was the name of the town you lived in?
Coventry.
Is that right outside of London?
No, it's the Midlands. It would be close to Birmingham.
Okay.
It was the kind of town that had a lot of factories.
Yeah.
And they would be making things for the war, you
Yeah.
know, bombs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so we were a good target.
Yeah.
And they bombed us every night for 2 years.
Really? Every night? Wow.
Every night. And my mother was the type that she had to wash the dishes before the bombs started falling. And we'd say to her, "Don't worry about dishes," but you know, she wanted
Yeah.
to have a neat house.
Did they wake you up at night, the bombs? Were they very
Oh
loud?
yeah. Well, see, I would come in and I'd sleep in that little room,
Yeah.
and my mother she had her Bible. She liked Psalm 91.
Yeah.
You know, and she would just say, "Jesus will take care of us. We will trust in him." But one day, and I went to school, and I had to walk. Nobody had a car.
Yeah.
You know,
really
that
wow.
wasn't the thing. And the one day I was coming out of school, and I can, you know, it's so funny. I can see it in my mind, this plane coming over, and we were a whole bunch of children, and the teacher, and they're screaming, telling us to get back into school because they were shooting at us.
It was a German plane.
Yes.
Wow.
And they were shooting us, and well, there wasn't much we could do. Trying to get back into the school didn't always work, but I managed to finally get home. And I wasn't part. When you're 10 years old, you're not part of the family program. And my parents, they must have said, "That's it. She can't live here and go to school." So I went to live with my grandma
Yeah.
and a couple of my aunts in Wales.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they lived in a little town, and there was no reason to bomb it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there was nothing there. So I went there for 2 years. I went to school there, but we only had half a day because there were so many children.
Yeah.
We couldn't have more. So my education at that point was not the best.
Yeah.
And I never did learn too much Welsh. I had a hard time with that
Yeah,
language. It's a hard language.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard some
I
phrases.
have. Yeah. Very difficult.
And so that was, I became an evacuee, and I lived with my grandma and my two aunts they were Christian women, and they took care of me for the 2 years, and I was there till I was 12.
Okay.
And my mother was homesick for me,
Yeah.
and she would talk to her minister, and he'd say, "Better not bring her home yet. There's more bombing. You better let her stay in Wales." And so that's what she did. So for 2 years,
For 2, yeah.
I was there in Wales, and that was fine because I made friends with the other evacuees. There were
Yeah.
some of them from London and other places.
Yeah.
But at one point, and I wasn't there for this, but my mother had gone to talk to the neighbor, and they have wooden fences
Yeah.
between the yards.
Yeah.
And she was there talking, and a bomb fell on the street next to her.
Wow.
And that's the one that blew out all our windows.
Wow.
And my mother said, she told me sometime after, she said she put her hands over her head and went in a circle. And she said not one piece of glass hit her. None.
Wow.
But it was all around her. Well, then when my dad came home from work, he had to pull up all the linoleum on the bedroom floors because you had to have complete blackout.
Oh, really?
You couldn't have you couldn't have a little bit of light.
Yeah.
And so he knew, and also to keep us warm.
Yeah.
So he had to put that on all the windows. But I wasn't there for that part.
Right, you were over in Wales.
I was in
Yeah,
Wales
yeah.
at that time.
Wow.
So But the big thing was coming home from church
Yeah,
and my mother praying the whole way.
yeah, wow. Do you know anyone who was killed by any of the bombs? Like any neighbors?
No, I never knew them. I don't know. My mother knew the lady who lived next door. She used to. She always went to the pub
Yeah.
in the evening, and then she'd come home, and she'd call. Our houses were so close, you know, and this little room that we were in, we could talk to the neighbor, and she would always say, "Mrs. Lewis, are you praying?"
Now, that room you'd go in to use as a bomb shelter. Only when the bombs were coming, you go in there. And then,
We'd go up in and land in the table.
yeah.
The,
Before the bombs come, you'd use the rest of the house, and then you only went in there when the bombs were coming.
well, if we knew the bombs were, well, at first we didn't know it was, I guess my parents, they didn't know it was going to be a nightly thing.
Yeah.
And it
For 2
was
years, wow.
for 2 years. The bombs were being dropped, and of course the guns were being used. I mean, we were trying to get rid of the Nazis.
So those people then shooting up at them?
So it would be a lot of noise,
Yeah,
yeah, between the guns being fired,
yeah,
and I can see why my parents thought she can't handle this, and she can't be going to school,
wow.
because we didn't get bombed in the daytime.
Only at
It was
night, yeah.
it was at night.
So you had to shut your lights off when that started?
Well, no, as long as we had good blackout,
Mm-hmm.
it was okay, because there were wardens that were on duty, and they would come and make sure that there's no light. You couldn't even have a pinch of light.
Not even a candle, right?
Nothing.
No. Oh,
No.
that must have been difficult.
My dad, though, he liked to sleep under that table. He thought it was comfortable and warm.
Really? Wow.
Well, my mother put blankets out there, you know,
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
like that. So I don't have like a day-by-day thing.
No,
I
that's-
just have moments.
Yeah, just the moments that, because it's not, I think this is the first time I interviewed someone who was over there during that war. I've had 24 interviews. One guy from our church in his 90s, and another guy from our church, his uncle, who is 100 years old, and he's still working.
Oh,
Up
isn't
by
that
Elkhorn, he still
something?
works. And I had to walk around with the camera. I couldn't, he took me to his shop where he makes birdhouses and everything, but 100 years old.
Yeah, well, I'm 93.
93, oh, you're doing
See,
great.
I was born in 31, and so now I'm 93, and I can't believe I'm still here.
You were born in that town over, that was...
No, I was born in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We came to this country in 1926,
Yeah,
and my dad was really happy. He did not want to be a coal miner, and that's all there was in Wales.
yeah.
Well, when we came here, he got a job in Cleveland, Ohio,
Oh, okay.
and everything was fine.
Yeah.
And then there was a whatever happened here in America, the what would you call it?
The Depression?
Yeah, and so he lost his job.
Yeah, yeah.
But he knew a man who lived in Dixon City.
Yeah, Dixon City, yeah.
Yeah, and he got in touch with him, and he said, I've lost my job, what can I do? I guess I'll have to be a coal miner. And the friend said, you come back here to Dixon and you've got a job.
Yeah,
So that's how come my parents were living in this area,
Yeah.
and I was born. But at the end of the time, like I was 6 years old,
Yeah.
and they decided that he didn't want to be a coal miner.
yeah, that was a tough way to earn a living. A lot
Yeah.
of people got killed in the mines.
So we
Lots.
went back to England.
Okay.
And he had to tell my mother he would not go to Wales because that's only coal miners.
Yeah.
But we knew there were factories in Coventry.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what we did.
Is that a big town or a small
Yeah,
town?
it was a good sized town.
Like Scranton, as big as Scranton?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
And so, he got a job there.
Yeah.
And then it was only about 2 years and war broke out.
Yeah, yeah, wow. But every night for 2 years being bombed, wow. They
Yeah.
probably bombed a lot of places, not just your town, right? Probably London too and all over, the bombs?
Well, the bombs would be aimed at the factories, but of course they'd hit the streets.
Yeah.
They'd hit people.
Wow.
It was a bad thing. And then of course we would shoot at them.
Did anybody ever hit the planes and knock them down?
Hey, you know what? I don't know all those details.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know my mother would say, oh, the Lord, she loved the Psalms and she would read them, and but she always prayed that we would get through. And then see, my brothers had to go out and fight fires.
Yeah, yeah.
They were like 18, 19 years old, so they were.
Yeah. Now, you're over here in America. Did they stay over there after the war, your parents?
Well, no, the one brother, he married an English girl, and we all came over together in
Yeah.
1947.
You came on a boat, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they were going to send me to Wales because I had an aunt who lived in Scranton,
Oh, okay.
and they said she was willing to take me.
Yeah.
And my mother said, but the ship that I would have gone on was sunk. The Nazis sunk it.
Wow.
And my mother said she was so glad that they never did put me on that ship. And then they stopped doing that.
Yeah.
They said it was too risky, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
And so my mother, she was a praying woman. There's
Yeah.
no two ways about it.
Now they're all buried over there? They're buried over there?
She was.
Are they buried over there?
Uh,
Your parents, or did they come back over here are they buried here?
yeah, they're buried here.
Oh, okay.
In fact, there's a PM cemetery in Dixon.
Yes, there is. They're
Yeah.
up there, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's where they're buried.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm supposed to be buried.
Do you have any siblings?
Well, I have 2 daughters,
Okay.
but I only had 2 brothers.
Okay.
I had no sisters. And my 2 brothers, they died with, one had blood clots and was gone really fast. And the other one had a heart problem.
Well, you said they were fighting fires over there, right? From the
They were
bombs? or something?
in England.
Yeah, from the bombs?
They were out there. They were just teenagers,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
they would have had a good story to tell,
Yeah,
more
would
than I have.
Well, that's interesting. I never knew anybody that was over there during the war that actually heard bombs falling down. My goodness. Were they bright, like a lot of light? Were they a lot of
You know what?
flames?
We were in this little room.
So you didn't see
I
them,
didn't see
Yeah.
the lights.
but you could hear them though.
You could hear them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was no 2 ways. And then when it got really, really bad, my mother made us sleep under the iron table
Yeah.
because if a bomb hit, the house would be gone. But see, it was never bombed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The house was never
Wow.
bombed.
That room was under the stairs, you said?
Under the stairs.
Wow.
And it was like, it was just a little room.
How many
that-
people could you fit in it?
Only the 2 of us, my mother on a chair and me on a mattress.
So every night for 2 years you had to go in that room?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
My brothers would made sure I was there in that room with my mother.
Did they have a siren that go off when they're going to be bombed, or you just heard them, or you saw the
Oh, well,
planes?
you'd hear the sirens.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. And it was a relief in the morning because then you'd hear the all clear siren.
Oh, they had one at the
They
beginning.
would they'd only bomb us in the night.
All through the whole night?
That, yeah, through the whole night. It just never ended,
Wow.
you know? And that's why when we were walking home from church that night,
Yeah.
my mother knew, because it must have been about, say, 7 o'clock,
Yeah.
say. And she kept saying, I know he's up there, oh, Jerry's up there.
How far a walk was it again from the church to the house?
About 3 miles.
3 miles. Wow.
And of course, we could both walk, and boy, just got back.
But there was no vehicles, there was no buses or nothing? You had to
There
walk?
was nothing at that time. If not, the last bus went and it was packed. We
Yeah.
couldn't get on it.
Oh, wow.
But she put her key in the back door,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
and we got in the kitchen and let's have a cup of tea.
Wow. Was it easy to buy groceries then during that time, or were they scarce? Or were they hard to
Well,
get?
you were rationed.
Oh, right.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
You had a sign up at every at the local grocery store,
Yeah.
and my mother would go and she'd get, I don't know how she did it. She would get 4 ounces of meat per person
Yeah.
per week. So that's, she had 3 of us. She had my mom and dad and me. And then in another store, she had my 2 brothers.
Yeah.
And we'd each get 4 ounces of meat.
Yeah.
I don't know how she did it,
Wow.
but she would cook.
What else did you have? Potatoes and any vegetables? Or?
Well, you'd have maybe 2 or 3 potatoes, and you'd have some vegetables. She'd
Yeah.
get what she could in the
Yeah.
ration book, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And then if they had, say the grocer was a friend or nice to you, he could say, you know what, I have a can of pears. I'll give you one.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was like a treat.
I bet it was. Yeah.
It was.
Wow. So they gave you a ration book, and
Yes,
you
you had a ration book.
Wow.
And so you had to sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 4 ounces of meat per person per week, that's not much.
No, not at all.
My mother would get, say, 12 ounces of meat, 4, 8, 12, the 3 of us. And she would try to make a meal out of it. I don't think she ate well.
Yeah. What did you use for cooking? They have gas or wood stoves? or
It was gas.
gas.
Yeah.
Okay. Like propane or something.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't into
Is that what you heat at the house? Does it get cold over there in the winter time or no?
Oh yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, you could. Oh yeah, you'd get cold.
But so you use gas to heat the house too?
Yeah, but in the kitchen, which is where we had that big table,
Yeah.
my dad was able to build a fire. We had a fireplace,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and he'd have some wood,
Yeah.
and he'd make sure that there was a nice warm kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And then of course,
When the windows got blown out there, how did he replace the glass? Did it take a long time, or did he have glass?
oh,
to
I
put in?
think so. I can't remember. I came home from Wales, and we still had linoleum on all the windows. And and that was in 45, the war was over,
Right. Yeah.
and we left in 47.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't ever remember ever seeing windows being put in. Now, it could have been,
Yeah.
and I just didn't pay attention.
But at first he just took the linoleum up and put it in.
Yeah.
So you had no light coming in.
No,
Oh, wow.
it was quite a ways to live. And to tell people, and I have friends, they've listened to some of this, but they're not that interested.
Yeah.
It's so far away and so long ago.
Oh. No, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. But what else did you have on there on your notes? Or?
Well, see, I put down the under the stairs.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That was it. And my mother, she was a
Yeah.
big part of it.
Yeah.
And then the trip from church.
How did you celebrate the holidays during that time, like Christmas time? What was
Well-
it? What did you do?
It was, I don't know, they must have brought a little tree from America when they moved there,
Yeah,
because we had a little tree, and but we didn't have presents as such.
Yeah.
But when I was in Wales,
Mm-hmm.
I had these two aunts, my dad's sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and I had clogs. That was my shoes,
yeah,
and they were like open, you know how
Yeah,
that
yeah,
clogs are. And this one aunt, she would fill that as much as she could with little gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd push it in the,
wow.
and that was it.
Yeah.
That-
What do you kids do to play during that time, during the war? Did you go out and play? Did they play ball, or did they play in the streets, or what did you do?
No, I don't remember. I remember maybe hopscotch.
Yeah.
We did that, but we didn't go out too much. Well, for one thing, my mother was kind of afraid that there would be, like there was that day in the school, maybe a stray plane would come over,
Yeah.
but and see, if I only had complete recall.
Yeah. Well, you probably weren't interviewed like this by anybody, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
No. They're interested. I love doing interviews, and this will be the 25th one I've done.
It would be interesting to talk to that man. That would, yes.
Yeah.
Did he live in England during,
The 100-year-old man? No, he lives up by Elk Mountain.
but
And-
was he in England at the bombing?
No, no.
Oh, he
No,
wasn't.
he just lived up there. But he told me what it was like growing up. And they only had horses when he was young, working the farm. Then they got tractors. And he's still working right now. He has a shop up there. He makes bird houses and bat houses. And 100 years old.
Oh, that's
His nephew
amazing.
goes to our church.
That is something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you'll have to tell Alan Rupert.
I will.
that you
'cause I'll
talked
see
to
him
me.
Sunday. I'll see him Sunday. He's the one that told me about it. Well, he during one of his sermons, I don't know how it came up, but it was about a year or two ago, and he said that, and he said Eleanor Tyson was in London during the bombing, in England during the bombing, and I thought, oh my goodness, I have to talk to her, but I didn't know how to get a hold of you, and that's why I called Faye, because I'm still in touch with Faye
Oh,
King,
yeah.
and she's doing pretty good. It sounds like too.
Yeah, well,
She's 90.
you know, she fell and did a job on her foot.
Yes, yeah, I know. But you're getting around and she's getting around. That's really good. And you remember a lot there. Anything else before we conclude?
Well, that's all I had written down. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget something. And
Anything of
that would be about it.
that will be about it. All right. Well, I thank you very much.
Well, that was interesting to talk to you.